On this episode of China Uncensored, what happened to Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370? Hi, welcome to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in an age of wonders. The mysteries of the human genome has been unlocked. The power of the atom is at our fingertips, and all of mankind's accumulated wisdom can be accessed from the palm of your hand. I use it to look up funny pictures of cats. So, why is it, in this day and age, a plane can totally disappear without a trace? On Saturday, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 en route to Beijing from Kuala Lumpur, carrying 239 souls, just vanished. There were no final foreboding communications, no wreckage has been found, nothing. Oh, there was this one fact that's come out. At least 3 of the passengers listed on the plane's manifest weren't actually on the plane. What does that remind me of? Some of the people on this plane weren't who they said they were. 2 were carrying the passports of an Austrian and an Italian that had been stolen at different times in Thailand over the past 2 years. Now, Interpol actually maintains a database of around 40 million stolen passports, and these 2 were included in that list. That'd be a useful list if anyone actually ever checked it. But Interpol estimates that only a handful of governments do, and last year there were over 1 billion flights where passports weren't checked against it. And that's what happened here. If Malaysian authorities had checked the passports of these 2 people against the database, they would have been discovered. But apparently this kind of thing is pretty common in Southeast Asia. Then there was a Chinese passenger whose passport number turns out matches exactly another Chinese man living in Fuzhou. But that man says he still has his passport safely at home and that it's never been used. Now that doesn't mean they had anything even to do with the plane's disappearance. In fact, authorities are pretty sure the first 2 people had nothing to do with it. But it does mean that investigators have not discounted the possibility this was an act of terrorism. And this is coming off only a week after the brutal Kunming knife attacks, so terrorism fears are pretty high in China right now. 153 of the passengers were Chinese. Malaysia is a popular tourist destination for Chinese this time of year, when Beijing is at its coldest and smoggiest. Taiwanese authorities have announced that they had information just 4 days before the plane's disappearance that a possible terrorist attack would be launched on a Beijing airport, which is where this plane was heading. The most common reasons a plane will crash is because of bad weather, a problem with the plane, or pilot error. The weather was good, the pilot had 18,000 hours of flight experience, and the plane was a Boeing 777, considered one of the safest planes out there. The U.S. is sending the FBI to help with investigations. Now, authorities have been scouring radar and signal data trying to figure out what exactly happened. Some of that information is available online, like this flight tracker website, flightradar24.com. You can see that not long after MH370 left Kuala Lumpur, the blue line here, it just vanished off the radar. Again, there were no signs from the plane nor the pilot that anything had gone wrong up until this point. And also, according to the BBC, there's this one more weird bit of information. And to make matters more complicated, a group calling themselves the Chinese Martyrs Brigade said they were responsible for the plane's disappearance and promised more attacks in the future. Now, no one's ever heard of this group until now. They sent a message to journalists in China saying, "You kill one of our clan, we will kill 100 of you as payback." They might be referring to the deaths of several of the assailants in the Kunming massacre who were shot by police, because one of the reasons they gave for targeting Flight MH370 was the Chinese government's persecution of Uighurs. Chinese authorities have blamed the Kunming knife attacks on Uighur terrorists from Xinjiang and tightened control on the region even further. The other reason this Chinese Martyrs Brigade gave was the Malaysian government's cruel persecution. They gave no other information about what that may mean. So if they were responsible, how did they do it and what happened to the plane? Well, they don't say. And frankly, this sounds pretty made up. A mysterious group no one's ever heard of, somehow taking out a plane with no explanation of how they did it or even what happened to it. Even the majority of Chinese media believes it's a hoax meant to stir up ethnic violence. If anything, this makes it seem more likely to me that the Kunming stabbings had nothing to do with Uyghurs. That attack was already such a complicated, mysterious, and tragic event, and now, following right on its heels, comes the complicated, mysterious, and tragic disappearance of a plane full of Chinese tourists, including a 29-member artist delegation from Sichuan. Obviously, the families are distraught and waiting for any bit of information they can get. I'll try to keep you updated when I hear more. In the meantime, our thoughts are with everyone who's been affected by this. Thanks for watching this episode of China Uncensored. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.